Hello, Slashies, and welcome to Slashed, a horror podcast where we talk about the scares, the screams, and the spooky stuff. My name is Grace.
And my name is Wouter, and today we'll be talking about the 2018 Netflix original horror film Malevolent, which we sort of randomly discovered while looking through our recommended, and it looked fine, so we thought might as well. We haven't found a good new horror movie in a while, so please recommend us good films. But before we dive into what we really thought maybe you should, Grace, please grace us again with a lovely synopsis of this film.
Thank you. So Malevolent is a 2018 horror film directed by Olaf Fleur Johansson and based on the novel Hush by Eva
Constantopoulos.
The film follows Angela Sayers, played by Florence Pugh, her brother Jackson, and the film crew Elliot and Beth, as they pretend to be paranormal investigators. They claim that Angela, like her late mother, can communicate with spirits. In reality, this is nothing more than clever sound effects and manipulated videos created by Beth and Elliot. Everything changes when the team takes on a case for Mrs. Green, who wants them to exorcise the ghosts of 3 young girls that her son Herman reportedly murdered when their house was still an orphanage. Angela discovers that her gift may be more real than she thought, and the ghosts of the young girls lure her and her friends into the basement where they were once held captive. Angela and Jackson both experience disturbing visions and they decide to leave, but not before Beth is abducted and has her mouth sewn shut by Mrs. Green. Turns out that Mrs. Green was a true murderer after all, and she and her son stalk the manor looking to murder the team. Jackson, Beth, Elliot, and Angela nearly escape when Jackson runs into the groundskeeper, thinking it was a ghost, and crashes the car. Beth dies in a crash, and Herman abducts the broken Jackson. Angela tries to save Jackson, but she's too late and gets captured. Mrs. Green begins to sew Angela's mouth shut when Elliot interrupts her. Elliot gets captured too, and eventually the two are saved by the ghosts of the little girls. The film ends with Elliot and Angela in the hospital and Angela accepting her gift.
Yes, thank you.
It sounds even weirder when you write it down.
It started out so good. I think this is one of those films that really just sort of blew its potential sort of halfway through. Because I found the concept really cool.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's not super original, I thought, okay, you know, these guys who are going to fake paranormal encounters actually run into ghosts. You know, there was actually sort of a potential for comedy there where they wouldn't be sure if it was the other ones messing with each other. You know, it could have had a little levity there before the shit got real. And I also really liked that it was right in the open. Like when it started out on their first assignment, which was actually also a really good way to set up how shit these people are. They come to this grieving family of a single dad with his daughter, and they want them to exorcise the mother from the basement because they say that the mother still lingers there and they want it to be at peace.
Yeah.
And the dad and the daughter are clearly very emotional, and they sort of prey on that. And I thought that was a really strong way to open the film with, okay, these people are kind of shit scammers. And then once they've done their quote-unquote assignment and have scammed these people out of their money, Angela gets assaulted by a mannequin that they keep in the basement, which was a little cheap jump scare, but it was fine. And she seemed so genuinely frightened by that I thought, okay, this is going to be good shit. This is going to be, okay, if the characters are truly frightened too, that's a sign that the movie knows it's going to be scary, you know? And I sort of ran with that for a good time, and I found a lot of the movie really tense. Like the midsection, I was just cowering behind my pillow, and I thought, oh, fuck, I am going to shit all over. This is going to be so scary. And then it just kind of flopped near the end.
You know what this reminds me of? So it used to be a thing on YouTube that if your video is under 10 minutes, the YouTube algorithm doesn't really push it. And there used to be this whole slew of people that if their film was 8 minutes, they would just do like an ad for 2 minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
Or the end credits would just be super, super long just to fill that. And that's kind of what this film felt like. Felt like they had a story that would have been fine for like maybe an hour and 15 minutes. And then they were like, shit, but they're expecting like the runtime that's at least 20 minutes longer than that. So we'll just keep padding the ending. And as a result, the pacing of this film is just so incredibly unbalanced.
So out of whack.
Yeah, because like you said, the start is quite strong. Like, it's not a hugely innovative premise. I think I've seen a film like this before, but it's with people actually going to, I think like an abandoned hospital or something, trying to remember what it is, but that's more like a found footage kind of film. So I had heard of this premise before, but it was still interesting, and I was engaged, and Florence Pugh is in it, so I was like on board for this. And then they get to the mansion, and this is where you think, we're going to spend most of the film. We're going to spend a good chunk of the film, things going bump, and Angela being, am I imagining things or am I actually seeing ghosts? And then they're going to slowly uncover what has actually gone on in the mansion and then try to escape. But I feel like they've been in the mansion for like 5 seconds. I feel like Angela just went down a bathroom and then a hallway, and then they were like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
They spent no time in the mansion. They spent no time actually communicating with the 3 ghost girls.
No. Claire, Tammy, and Missy.
Yeah, like you think they're going to be important. They're on the poster. It's the whole thing why they're there, And I thought they were going to be like, oh, are the girls malevolent or are they not? Like, Herman killed them, and it's implied by Mrs. Green that perhaps there was something wrong with the girls that drove him to, like maybe they were possessed by a demon. But then it is immediately established, no, this is just because Mrs. Green is actually a crazy person and she did it.
Yeah.
But like, I guess there was something to be said for that whole tension, like, can we trust the girls? Can we not trust the girls? And that just wasn't important to the film until the girls were the Deus Ex Machina that saved the day. But even that felt so unearned and so out of nothing.
Yeah, because they didn't talk to the girls really at all.
No,
they just sort of walked around and giggled and whispered and put their fingers across their lips like, shh.
Yeah, it's not like Angela established like a bond with them. Like she gave them a stuffed animal. It's just like, oh, do you miss your teddy or something?
Yeah.
Like nothing like that.
No.
The only thing that they've established is that the girls scream at night. So like, perhaps it could have been a thing where you see like the sun go down and then they start screaming. But then that only pays off if at some point Angela's like, okay, I need to buy myself time until it's night so the girls will be on my side.
Yeah.
But that's not a thing. It just happens.
Yeah, exactly. And it would have been such a good, like what if you just stretch it out a little longer and just spend multiple days here at the mansion? Because, it's clearly implied that Mrs. Green knows from the get-go that these guys are fakes.
Or pretty early on she discovers it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So once we know that Miss Green knows, and they also have an inkling of, oh shit, I think she's not convinced. I think we need to throw out the big guns. Then they need to stay there for more days. And then at night, the real shit happens. And they're like, what the fuck was that? Doesn't matter. We need to play into this. We need to play it up even more.
Yeah.
And then they say another day, and like more shit goes down at night. Like, oh, fuck, it's happened again. What the fuck's going on? Doesn't matter. It's going to make us a lot of money. And they get tension between the characters, and they go paranoid. Are you doing this? Are you doing this?
Yeah.
And then one of them disappears. Like, oh, is this part of the game? Nobody knows. Who? What the fuck's happening? And then another one disappears, and then it's just the two of them. It's Jackson and Angela, and they get into a fight, and then it goes really tense.
Yeah.
And Jackson has also developed the gift, and then it's like, oh, but am I imagining things? Am I going crazy? And I would have been like, bam, that's another hour to your movie right there. Don't have to do the stupid ending.
Yeah, and on one hand, I kind of get that they didn't go that route, and I commend them for it, because they made the characters very realistic in the way that as soon as the like one majorly creepy thing happened, they were just out of there.
Yeah, that was good. That was awesome.
Yeah, they were just like, Mrs. Green is scary. We are immediately leaving.
Yeah, this is not worth the money.
Yeah. But then, of course, then the movie would be over. They would just go home and that would be the end of it. So they had to have the car crash happen. And then, and this is definitely the worst part of the film. Herman shows up. Fine.
Yes.
Herman grabs Jackson. So then we see Jackson being basically moved to a room in the house. Oh, I suppose that was just the basement room.
Yeah.
There he's going to get tortured. Mrs. Green is explaining the plot to him.
Yeah.
And then sews his mouth shut. Then Florence Pugh, Angela, wakes up. She's like, oh dang, Jackson's gone. Then we see her walk to the manor. We see her walk into the basement. She is put on a chair. The plot is explained to her. She gets her mouth sewn shut. Then Elliot wakes up, and Elliot is already incredibly wounded at this point, and you literally have to watch him drag himself over to the mansion. So this is the third time we've seen someone being basically forced to go back there. He goes into the basement. No plan. It's not like he had a plan. He just walks in there, starts to fight, gets immediately captured, and then they're just gonna do the same thing to Elliot. And it's like, why am I just watching these three people do the same stupid thing over again?
Yeah, but then also somehow Elliot lands a killing blow on Herman.
Does he?
Yeah, he stabs him in the neck.
Yeah, but it was like a really weird fumbling going on.
Yeah, and then because he's got stabbed in the neck, Mrs. Green gets really sad because her son's dying, and then and that should have incapacitated her right there and then. But that's not enough. And then the girls come in, they scream at her, and then she can't do anything because it's a paralyzing move, and dark Pokemon are really weak against those. Stupid joke. And then Florence Pugh comes up to her in the slowest manner possible and stabs her in the face with a chisel.
Yeah. Were they going for the thing that because Herman died, the girls weren't no longer had their mouths sewn shut? No, right?
Let's not give the movie too much credit there.
No. It was just very... It was just sad that it just dissolved into this jumbled mess, really.
Yeah, exactly. Because, it was plenty tense, when they're actually going through the mansion. Because, the movie also had a pretty cool aesthetic going on, I gotta say. Because it plays in the 80s. Everything is VHS and tape recorders and stuff. So, and they film it live so that people can see the exorcism actually happening. So, once every so often you see everything through this sort of VHS filter, and it feels very found footage, but because it's live, it's actually a little more tense. And that added something for me, but then again, I feel like they missed that mark by doing things like, you could see Angela talking to stuff that she could see, but you couldn't see on the tape, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Play with that a little bit.
Yeah, especially because it sets it up, this is going to be about some, tape trickery and bullshittery. That is not a big thing in the movie.
No.
It doesn't feature often. They don't use that. And that's really, I think, really wasted potential, because that was kind of an edge that the film gave itself and then just forgot about.
Yeah.
About the aesthetic, you already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I did not like the aesthetic of the film. This film was not set in the 80s. You cannot convince me it was. I think the aesthetic definitely gave away that this was a bit more of a low budget film, which is fine, but it was really set in the 80s for no reason. I still can't you can't convince me, Wouter, that there was a good reason why this was set in the 80s. The only reason is that they were using tapes, but then they could still have said something like, you can only catch ghosts on tapes. You can only catch their voices on tapes. It doesn't work on digital stuff or something. It's ghosts. There are no rules. They could have just said that, and they could have still used tapes and had it just said in 2018. Because the outfits and the set pieces don't look like they're set in the 80s. Florence Pugh looks consistently like she shopped in 2016. She's wearing a short leather jacket and turtlenecks. Well, I guess she looks a little bit more modern even because she's not in skinny jeans, but nothing about her outfit says 80s. They could at least give her a big hair and a big oversized jacket. If you want to go for 80s, give her that really 80s medium. Give her this really ridiculous over the top TV medium. The higher the hair, the closer to God outfit, Yeah. I would have loved that. Make it a bit more
big ass cardigan.
Yeah, but they just didn't. She looked like she was on her way to an Arctic Monkeys concert.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it fit the film very well. But it would have been fine if they just didn't say it's in the 80s. They tried harder with Beth, but she also did not look like she was in the 80s. And if the decision to make it in the 80s was fully fueled by the fact that they wanted to use tapes and this kind of technology, it's not like ghost technology is too sophisticated nowadays. The stuff they use nowadays for paranormal investigation, that's just foolproof. They could not fuck with that at all. They could have used a spirit box and just set up someone with a radio somewhere. Yeah, just have like a radio wave that they are more likely to tap into or something. I don't know. Just, it annoyed me that they were like, it's the 80s, but it's not. Because then it felt like it was only in the 80s because, especially then, a lot of films were set in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they just trying to, like, cash in on it, basically?
Yeah, or maybe they were going for that there was a specific psychic medium fad in the 80s.
But then make her look like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I want? I want a film about the Long Island medium who has to like fight a demon.
Speaking of, you were talking about Arctic Monkeys. I want to go to the music for a little bit because I did really like the soundtrack. I feel, if anything, good horror like has a good soundtrack, and I found the musical piece that played when they were driving to Mrs. Green's house especially scary. Just as little, it was really this really cool, upsetting, atmospheric music that I really appreciated, and that gave me really good hopes for this film. Thought, okay, well, if it's got this cool soundtrack, that's clearly a nice detail that I wanted in there, but then they also sort of deflated.
I like the scary music that they played on the record, even though that trope is,
it's a bit sinister too, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Sinister 2 is such a stupid movie. Never mind.
But it made me think of Ready or Not. But I could appreciate that. I can appreciate a lot of the things that they try to do in this film. Like, the acting's pretty solid. Yeah. I'll be honest, main reason I watched this was because Florence is in it.
Yeah, just for those unfamiliar, Florence Pugh also plays Danny in Midsommar.
Yeah, and like she's giving a really good performance with what she has to work with.
Yeah.
The Mrs. Green is actually played by one of the actresses from A Cure for Wellness.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to see her, and I think she did not have a lot to work with, but she made the most out of it.
She made the best of it, yeah. That's actually interesting, though, that we liked the acting, even though that's one of the main things people hated about this movie.
Yeah.
People thought this was really badly acted, yeah.
That just wasn't... The script was paper thin,
Yeah.
These characters were... Like, Beth wasn't a character.
No.
Elliot was nice, and that was the extent of his character,
Yeah.
I mean, even Angela and Jackson were really one note, because Jackson's whole thing was just... I want to do a scam, and they wanted to make that more deep. So they were like, well, Jackson wants to do a scam because he's in the mob.
Yeah.
And then Angela's whole thing was just, I don't want to be in a scam.
Yeah, and also she's afraid to tap into whatever potential ability she does have because her mum also had it and she committed suicide because of it.
Yeah. I like the dad.
The grandpa. Grandpa Sayers, yeah. Who, I was correct, by the way, he was in fact in Troy.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like, you have a face that belongs in Troy, and he was in fact in Troy. He's one of the Greek generals or something.
And he's Jorah's dad.
Jorah's dad in Game of Thrones, Beor.
Yeah.
Moment. Beor Moment. Yeah, he was good. James Cosmo, shout out to him.
Yeah.
Even though he had a really weird angle about how he was a bit victim blamey about his daughters, about the mum.
I saw it as someone who was just wrecked by grief.
Yes.
More so than,
Speaking of the ability of his mum, though, I did like, even though it sort of had been ruined by the rest of the ending, I liked the beat where not Danny, Angela gets out of the murder basement once they finish the job, and she walks out and she sees Jackson there, looking for Beth, as a ghost, and I thought that was actually quite sweet. I thought actually that was a really good emotional moment where she is like, okay, this is the good side of my ability. I appreciate this, and it's sad that I have to see Jackson go, but also I know that he's fine now.
Yeah.
And there's actually some payoff to whatever horribleness of I experienced. And I thought that was a good way to sort of tie that knot, but then it wasted that again with the weird hospital ending where we see them ending up in hospital and being fine, which I would have assumed if they you're not going to give me an end title card that says, oh, actually, Elliot bled to death on the way out. Sorry. Fuck you.
Yeah, it was really weird. I remember saying to you, this film has more endings than Lord of the Rings because it just kept on going. Like, you think the ending when they kill Mrs. Green is the ending, and then you see Angela walk outside. I'm like, I don't have to see her walk down the driveway.
No.
And then she sees Jackson, and I was like, oh, right, okay, that makes sense. I guess this gives some closure. And then they were like, now she's in the hospital. I'm like, all right, it's gonna be in the bed, and like a bunch of hobbits are gonna jump on it. And then she visits Elliot, and they talk about whatever, and I'm like, oh, surely this is the end. And then there's another phone call she has with the granddad, and then like Elliot's ghost is kind of implied to be looking at her. Jackson's ghost. And it's like, this was already established.
Yeah.
Why are there 4 endings to this film? This film, I'm telling you, this film was too short, and they had to leave a bunch of like stuff they didn't want to use in just to reach a runtime.
They probably just took it straight from the book ending.
Yeah.
And just got pasted in there, even though it doesn't work on film.
No.
Well, we're just ragging on the ending anyway. I thought it was a little shame that Herman just sort of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought it was fine if it was just Mrs. Green, that Herman was like wouldn't it have been cool if Herman was just in prison?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been super naughty for a crime that he didn't commit? Mm-hmm. That she just framed her own son for killing three of her orphan daughters herself. Yeah. Or what I thought was going to be a thing is, you know, when they come onto the premises, the groundskeeper Victor lets them in. And he looks about he looks a little older, middle-aged, but he could pass middle-aged if the movie wanted to.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been cool if Victor was actually Herman?
Yeah.
You know, if that had been the twist. Like, you think that Herman went on the lam and went into hiding because he's being wanted for murder, but actually he stayed on the premises all the time and took on the role of Victor, the groundskeeper.
Yeah, we've already seen Herman.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been fucking cool? And then they just run over Victor.
And then Herman looked bad.
Yeah.
Herman looked like he was doing a like Frankenstein's monster cosplay. Yeah. Was he supposed to be undead, or was that just a choice?
That was a choice. He was supposed to be mute, though, I think. I think that it was implied that she cut off his tongue as well. Yeah.
Also, Mrs. Green's accent was...
sometimes Scottish, sometimes nottish. Sorry. I think because it's such a short film, it doesn't really lend itself to like a big discussion on like themes and stuff.
I think I've seen a lot of low budget horror films, and I think this is just meh. Like, it's not bad enough that it's fun, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not good enough that it's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just meh. Like,
it exists.
I wouldn't recommend this necessarily to anyone.
No, it's not that exciting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like this was just a sort of watered down Sinister.
I really wonder what they were trying to do. Was this just Netflix being like, okay, let's push out another film just to fill the horror page? Or if this was like someone... That always makes me wonder, like, was this someone's passion project that he just couldn't cut, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Was that it? Like,
just couldn't hack the money together.
No, but like he just didn't want to cut anything, you know?
Yeah, because I wouldn't have minded if this was a short film, I guess.
No.
Also, let me just say this, okay? All the appearances, all the visions that Angela has are related to the ghosts that she sees somehow.
Uh-huh.
You know? She sees Jackson at the end, she sees the little girls, and she sees, you see her music and that sort of stuff. That's all related to the ghosts and their deaths and whatever.
Yeah.
Then, in the very first scene, when she is in that basement to exorcise the mother of that grieving family.
Yeah.
Why is she attacked by a mannequin?
That's the mom.
Was the mom a mannequin?
Okay, so the mom was a seamstress. So that's why she was with the mannequins in the basement. And I think why she had no hair and looked like a mannequin is because they were implying that the mom died of cancer.
Yeah. But then why does it manifest? That's weird. Why does it just manifest itself?
It's weird that apparently the ghost of this mom was like, you know what I want to do with like my eternal life as a ghost? I want to scare some people. I'm going to be a fucking jump scare. I'm going to pretend to be a mannequin, and this little bitch is going to be so freaking scared.
Yeah.
Watch me.
It doesn't really matter if my daughter has horrible memories of me because of that.
Also, I hate that Angela Sayers is basically called Angel Seer.
Yeah. But that's probably on the... They could have changed it, but that's probably on the novel more than anything.
Well, then I don't like it
Yeah.
from the novel.
Yeah.
So, I guess in conclusion...
Not bad. Not good. I mean, I guess you could watch it up until the car... If you just watch it up until the car crash, it's a really tragic movie.
Yeah.
I mean, up until the car crash, I thought it was pretty good.
It was fine, yeah.
I really liked the car crash scene, actually. I loved that cut where Jackson thinks he's a ghost and floors it, and then it cuts away once he hits the entity, and then it cuts back to whatever he hit, and then the groundskeeper Victor just flops dead on the floor.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and up until that point, the film was, like, super tense. So if you just watch it until then, like, you're golden. You know? Also,
I felt like they were implying that Herman killed the girls in some kind of demonic ritual, but that also kind of went nowhere.
Yeah. I thought he just killed him for fun.
Also, why do we need to know what Angela was studying in college? Yeah.
Wasn't important. They had like a talk in the beginning because she's apparently been skipping class to do this job. And then they were like, hey, we're going to kick you out if you skip class. Even though that's not how uni works, at least not in the Netherlands.
No.
They can't kick you out of uni. That's a good thing about uni. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. But also it was just weird. Like, I don't know what I was trying to imply. Because the only thing that scene really did is that Angela thought she heard a ghost.
Yeah, by a doorknob on the dean's office just suddenly sort of rattling.
Yeah.
And I was like, Angela, I am the doorknob spirit. I am Nobby.
No, no, don't call it that.
Too late.
Did they do the mirror screen?
No, I thought they were gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought because Angela has these nosebleeds all the time whenever she experiences a vision. I thought, oh, okay, she's going to go into look in the mirror and rinse it off in the mansion, and then there's going to be something behind her, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
They set up so many jump scares that they just didn't do that I was actually a bit miffed that they didn't. Because I hate jump scares, but I hate it even more when they cock tease you and then don't do it.
Yeah, and then the jump scares that they did do were...
So random.
So random and kind of bad a lot of times.
Yeah.
So, watch Midsommar.
Watch Midsommar. Watch Hereditary even. Like, this is just...
Hereditary was a good film. Like,
yeah.
even we ragged on it, but we always said that was a good film.
Yeah, good ass fucking movie. Like, that's... Yeah.
Okay, a good haunted house. You know what? Watch Annabelle Creation.
There you go.
Watch Annabelle Creation. It is the vibe what this film want. If there's a film out there that is kind of horror comedy with a medium that attacks demons in a fun way, let us know. I want to watch it.
Yeah. And I think on that note...
I've been Grace.
I've been Wouter. Thank you guys for listening. Tune in on our social media. Leave a comment. Recommend us movies. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And you've been slashed.